Hey everybody, welcome to my first experiment taking uh, video astrological predictions to this type of format through um, its direct connection to the calendar that I'm providing at this time, and something, that I want to include for the calendar is a monthly overview video. So this video is going to be a bit of me going over the energy that is coming up ahead during the month of January in terms of the mundane world transits. So the energy that we are all collectively going to be um, experiencing and working through over the month of January 2020, the first month in the new decade. And boy, does it start off with a bang. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to share my screen, and you will all be able to get to see. So this is the calendar for the month ahead. I'm just going to go through a bit of what we got going here. So we actually start off on a fairly positive note overall in the collective sense, with Mercury conjunct Jupiter on the 2nd, and then Mars entering Sagittarius right on the 3rd. So Mercury, mental communications, ideas, information, exchanges, and Jupiter are all about expansion, buoyancy, optimism, faith, growth, things like that. So the collective thought patterns and the collective mind is sort of focused on bigger picture of things, and maybe, really looking forward, looking ahead, looking on the bright side of the next decade, of the next everything to come. Some of the questions I have here for Mercury conjunct Jupiter is, what can I perceive when I focus on my sense of expansion and growth potentials? So that Jupiterian essence of expansion and growth, when we use our minds to focus on our sense of that, what messages are we getting? What can we perceive? What messages about the future is my sense of faith trying to communicate with me during this time? Jupiter corresponding to that sense of faith, that sense of growth, that sense of feeling supported and abundant in many ways. What is that sense, that aspect of our sense, that aspect of our experience? What messages are we getting directly from that sense experience at this time? And then overall, just what do I feel optimistic about, and how can I support that vision by charting a course toward making it real? So Mercury ruling the mind and the mental faculties and information processing, with this conjunction to Jupiter, this is a great time for planning about the future, taking those big ideas, those optimistic dreams, and using that mercurial energy to use our mind to make a plan. So charting a course is the way that I phrased it in that way. And then right then on the 3rd, Mars enters Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a sign ruled by Jupiter, and Mars is our will force, our action, our drive, our libido, our outward directed energy. It's that go get it done, that go make it happen type of energy. So entering Sagittarius with its correspondence to Jupiterian energy, this Mars, coming out of Scorpio, where Mars is at home, but Mars in Scorpio has been much more down and in focused. It's been much more sort of concentrated, focused, sharp, determined type of Martian energy. Moving into Sagittarius, it's going to feel much brighter and much more expansive and much more broadly focused. One of the sort of phrases I've come up for Mars and Sagittarius is, so Mars can be that warrior energy, and Sagittarius can correspond to our personal belief systems and the way that we create meaning in the world. And this can also do with governance laws, those structures that set up the frameworks of our beliefs, of our collective societal beliefs. as well as like all senses of higher education and philosophical frameworks. So with the warrior Martian energy entering that realm, that sphere of energy, um, I have the phrase of like fighting for beliefs. Um, so as and this is so Mars is going to be as Sagittarius. Mars is usually in each sign for about 2 months. So January and February are going to be primarily colored by this Mars and Sagittarius energy. And with some of the other transits that we have coming up, um, and specifically with, so Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is currently in Capricorn. So this Mars in Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter in Capricorn, actually. Uh, and we have a lot of other things going on in Capricorn, and I can show you the first chart that I have here, thanks to planetwatcher.com, of Mars entering Sagittarius. And then we have all of these other planets going on here in Capricorn, including Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius. So I just said the same thing in like 10 different ways. So yeah, fighting for one's beliefs, but beliefs about Capricorn, beliefs about structure, systems, governments, the organizational frameworks and structures of how our society is currently being operated, the current practical at work modes of operation. So obviously with lots of things going on in the world, I don't think it's hard to imagine that taking center stage, especially as we are entering an election year. Those belief systems are going to be boosted with that Martian energy of defending, fighting for our collective beliefs about these structures and these systems. And so that's sort of right off the bat. We get a little bit of a reprieve on the 7th of January when the sun sextiles Neptune. And so the sun is just, of course, the core energy, the overall essence of light, painting the picture of the rest of the collective experience. And Neptune is this very like a diffusive energy. There's osmosis, there's diffusion. There is a sense of escapism. This can be through movies and music and art and beauty, but also drugs and alcohol and anything which facilitates our sort of like diffusive, expansive experience. It's also very compassionate and empathic, but it definitely has difficulty with boundaries and with structure. So the energy might be a little bit lower during this sun sextile Neptune. So we're the beginning, going on here. There's more energy, and especially Mars in Sagittarius brings that energy up and out. Around the 7th, day before, day after, this is a bit of a lower energy point and a good time for rest and reflection, maybe in meditation if that's something that you take part of, or the way that you personally engage with that. Jupiter conjuncts the South Node on the 8th. That will bring a lot more insight into the beliefs, and specifically the beliefs we're working through, sort of letting go of, getting rid of, about the structures and the systems at play. On the 10th, the Sun conjoins Mercury, as well as Uranus stationing direct. The Sun conjuncts Mercury in Capricorn on the 10th, so both at 20 degrees, both 2 degrees away from Saturn and Pluto coming up to their conjunction, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But anytime the Sun conjoins Mercury in its synodic cycle is referred to, or its solar cycle, this is a very key point for awarenesses to come through into the collective consciousness. And it's a great time for listening to one's inner voice, as well as taking stock of the current collective voice, the messages that are coming to us at this time. Again, specifically in the realm of this Capricorn energy, the structures and systems, both of our personal lives, the way that we set up and engage with the frameworks that structure our own individual lives, and the way that our individual lives relate to the collective life through the various structures and systems of organization in that way. There's also, of course, this energy of ambition and work ethic and slow, perseverant, determined, endurant efforts to build up to things in our lives. So Capricorn in many ways is definitely associated with like the patriarchy and capitalism in this way, in this sense of authority over things. And so we could get some like in-depth insights into both our personal thoughts about these things and the way that the collective is thinking about them at this time. And Uranus also stations direct on that day as well. So here in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus so far, I've personally been following it through the cryptocurrency realm, which is what I believe that one of the main themes of Uranus in Taurus is going to be, as many other astrologers are also corresponding that to. Uranus being, first of all, electronics, as well as revolutionary breakthroughs and overhauls of previous systems, breaking through previous limitations, and bringing a more sense of freedom, and also a sense more of like collective consciousness energy. And Taurus ruling values, finances, resources, as well as the earth itself and our natural earth resources. But values, finances, and money also being ruled by Taurus, as well as food production, and things of that nature. So the cryptocurrency, as far as I'm aware of, market has, while Uranus has been in retrograde, has been taking sort of like a downward trend. The markets have sort of slowly been going down. So possibly we'll see a reversal of that come January 10th, when Uranus stations direct and begins to move forward again and gain momentum again with a new set of turn of events in that world. But Uranus, of course, is always sort of one of those unpredictable planets, sudden reversals of fortune, sudden epiphanies, sudden breakthroughs, things like that. So it's always sort of like hard to tell exactly what's going to happen with that. But around the 9th, 10th, 11th, specifically after it turns direct, we should see some sudden shifts, and that leading into the 12th and 13th, which are, I would say, the most major days of this month. We have Mercury conjunct Saturn, Mercury conjunct Pluto, Saturn conjunct Pluto, Sun conjunct Pluto, Sun conjunct Saturn, and then Venus enters Pisces. But I'm really looking around here, specifically at the Saturn conjunct Pluto. So this is January 12th. 11:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The great Saturn-Pluto conjunction. This is a transit that I personally first became aware of like 5 years ago, and it's sort of surreal and insane to be so close to it now. And it's one of those transits that I personally had built up like a lot of fear and trepidation around. Saturn and Pluto can both be pretty scary in certain regards. Saturn, again, being authority and power over and limits and restrictions and government, and the patriarchy and things like that. And Pluto has this tendency, first of all, the main keyword I come up with Pluto is intensity. So an intensification of all of those things, as well as obsession and control, and really taking things to their extremes in many regards. But Pluto is also this Phoenix type energy, this death and rebirth type energy, and this transformative energy. In my own personal life, I've been going through a few Pluto transits right now, and another energy that I've been just sort of viscerally, personally connecting with that experience has been this idea of decluttering, of sort of clearing out space and making room for new growth. One of my favorite metaphors for Pluto is when farmers will intentionally, and of course this has a different reference now because of the fires earlier in the year, the farming fires in South America, in the Amazon. But one of my metaphors for Pluto is when farmers will intentionally burn their crops to the ground in order to not only make room for new growth, but in order to also fertilize the soil for the next growth cycle. So there are, of course, a few ways that this combination of energies can be read. Saturn and Pluto could be the intensification of like despotic control, and it could very well be a turning point or breaking point for sort of fascist dictatorial regimes taking place in the world right now. Consolidation and intensification of the manifestation of those forces, for sure, absolutely. This could also be, in other regards, death and rebirth of those systems, of the systems of our governments. And likely it'll probably be both, right? Because the intensification and the solidification and the manifestation of these fascist rulerships will likely also spark a great intensive backlash balancing force need to overhaul and to transform these systems as well, to bring about the death and rebirth of new systems, of these structures of governments. And so around the 12th and 13th, and of course, a bit before and then afterwards, everything will be different as those changes take place. This is going to be, a very intensive, pivotal moment. Like this second and a half week of January is very pivotal, very pivotal. So, keep your eyes and ears open to the changes that are going around during this time, during this middle of this month. Take care of yourself. Take moments away for rest and recharging your own batteries as you need. I'm sure it'll be pretty easy to get swept up and overwhelmed in whatever news feeds or social media is going on at that time. I would definitely say, allow yourself to break away from that as needed, of course, and things like that. The Mercury conjunctions going through there, as well as the Sun going through there, is definitely going to bring our communication focus again around these issues as well, and just the core of the current experience around those focus as well. A sort of silver lining point about this is after those, Venus directly moves into Pisces. And Venus, in many ways, symbolizes not just our values and relationships and harmony, but also rest and relaxation, and taking things at ease. So if Mars is that outward directed warrior energy, Venus is the opposite. Venus is that sort of pleasant, soothing, relaxing type of energy. And entering Pisces, this is a place where Venus is what's referred to as being in exaltation. So it's one of Venus's favorite places to be. So this is a very strong placement for Venus to be in terms of compassion, feeling compassion for and empathy within our relationships, and being able or being needed much more, again, also to connect to that ability for rest and relaxation as well. So that'll be for almost the next month after that. So that's sort of, again, sort of a silver lining with that. Mercury moves from Capricorn to Aquarius on the 16th, bringing communication, information exchange, as well as business exchange of information into a larger realm of group networks, society, communities at large, and the internet. So social media, organizations. And Aquarius also has, Aquarius coming after Capricorn is also very much about the, as an air sign, it works in the realm of ideas, and is very much about the critical analysis, the critical reflections upon Capricorn as it comes right after it. So this may be a time where the collective voices, literally collective voices, become much more manifested, collected, and brought out into group awareness about these new systems, ideals, hopes, wishes, and dreams for the future, specifically through our friendship groups, our communal societies, and the greater collective forces that we are all a part of in our communities. Mercury squares Uranus on the 18th, highlighting another element of that sort of like sudden breakthroughs in awareness, and sudden shifts in the collective voice and what we'll all be talking about together at that time. And then the sun itself enters Aquarius on the 20th. More of a time for invention, and again, thinking about new structures, radical reapproaches to this death and rebirth process of these systems that we're currently going through. More sort of like this 16th, 18th, 20th, this is more like revolutionary type energy, looking for breakthroughs, looking for new ideas, and using our minds to be inventive about these new ways, and through connecting to the groups around us. Sun itself squares Uranus on the 23rd, and on the 23rd we're also having Venus sextile Jupiter. So the end of this month kind of ends more on a soothing type of note, I would say. Venus sextile Jupiter is a lovely transit for rest and relaxation as well. And then Venus conjunct Neptune is also a great time for rest and relaxation. And then on the 28th, Mars squares Neptune, which will, as like the Sun sextile Neptune on the 7th, and that was more of like a low energy time. The Mars square Neptune itself is also more of a low energy time. And the actions we may be looking to take around the 28th might, like our ability to consolidate our energy to take action may itself be more diffused at that time, and it may be harder to direct ourselves in like one area. So I would say towards the end of the month, you know, we're definitely going to need that like rest and that reflection and that more like time for solitude. So it'll be nice because Venus will be in Pisces. It'll be sextiling Jupiter on the 23rd, conjuncting Neptune on the 27th in Pisces, and then Mars square Neptune on the 28th. This is definitely more low energy rest reflection, but also a very compassionate, empathic, spiritual time as well. Venus square Mars on the 26th itself, a bit more creative, a bit more Whenever Venus and Mars are in like square opposition or conjunction, I always think of also sort of like um, creative libidinous time. There's more of a sexy element when Venus and Mars um, connect in more of this friction dynamic. So there's something creative going on the 26th, and then more like rest, reflection to end out the month there. So that was my first time doing that month overview, and I'm very excited to have this and make this available as a part of my calendar service, the Astro Catalyst calendar service. And this is all an experiment and exploration for me, and I'm just looking for ways to support and serve my communities through these efforts, as well as develop my own services and what I have to offer to you all. So if you've enjoyed this, if you're enjoying the calendar, please take a moment to let somebody else in your life know about this. Share this on your social media, and let's collect a group of people so we can add more energy to what's going on here. I think the more people are in awareness of the collective energies, the more we can collectively work with these transits and become more overall effective in our own personal lives and our collective movements as well, which I think, of course, we definitely need at this time to sort of consolidate our efforts and move more as one, right? And the best way to do that is to be in alignment with the astrological transits of the world going on. So anyways, thank you all again. And I'll see you next month for the next installment of this monthly forecast. So take care.